Hi, hello everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are calling from. Um, we are repeating this webinar series. I teach PTE 3 times on the day we're running these webinars. So some teachers have listened to the session a couple of hours ago. Our colleagues from North America will be listening in to the third session. Great. Hi, Biraj. Lovely to see you. We are delighted to welcome you today. We're really building this wonderful community of PTE teachers around the world. So thank you for your continued participation and engagement. I have a couple of housekeeping things just to say before we kick off. So you can see the chat is open. So please do say hello from wherever you are. Great to see representation from the Philippines as well today. That's great, Concepcion. The other thing I wanted to say is that Shonali is going to run probably for around 50 minutes, and we hope to have a short 10-minute Q&A because I don't think we're going to have huge numbers for this session. So do pop your questions in the Q&A. Can you see at the very bottom the Q&A function? Can you just open that and just give me a quick hi? I just want to test that it's working for you. Shonali will answer questions on today's topic, which is I Teach PTE Writing. But if you have any other questions, I will do my best to answer them. Okay, we have an anonymous attendee saying hi, Magda. So that's great. The Q&A is working, Shonali. So I will monitor that for you for the duration. Okay. The raise hand feature has been disabled, but as I say, the chat and the Q&A has been enabled. So welcome to everyone. We have our wonderful master trainer Shonali from representing India and South Asia today, a hugely experienced teacher and teacher trainer. So hopefully today there is going to be a little bit for everyone. The new teachers, the aspiring PTE teachers, the more experienced PTE teachers. If you can walk away today with 1, 2, or 3 things, we've done our job. So without further ado, I'd like to hand over to Shonali for a quick introduction. Over to you, Shonali.
Thanks, Magda. Hello, everyone, and welcome to I Teach PTE Writing. A little bit about myself. I'm Shonali, and I'm joining you from Noida, which is near Delhi. I'm the Deputy General Manager for Training and Preparation for India and South Asia at Pearson. Any South Asia colleagues over here, a hi, and even and a more warm hi to the participants from around the world. So over the past 13 years, I've worked across English language education, from classroom teaching to educational management and teacher training at Pearson, IDP, and the British Council. As you see on the screen, I hold the Cambridge Delta, and I have recently done a postgraduate certificate in product management from Kellogg's. Like many of you, I'm passionate about teaching exam classes. There's something incredibly rewarding about guiding students through PTE challenges and watching them achieve their goals. So, without any further delay, let's jump into PTE writing. What we're going to do is not just what, but how of effective teaching. First, we'll examine all the 7 PTE writing question types, both the individual and integrated skills. Next, we'll get practical with key structures and expressions that consistently help students achieve high scores in write essay and write email. And finally, we'll explore Pearson resources to support you in teaching PTE writing. Whether you're new to teaching PTE or refining your approach, our goal is actionable strategies you can implement immediately. I'll share insights from years of working with test content and teacher training. Let's dive in and make PTE writing more effective and enjoyable for both you and your students. How does that sound to you? Good? If it is, then just can you put the word in the chat box? Great. Oh, thank you, Concepcion. Right. So let's look at our first objective, which is understanding the writing tasks themselves. This foundation is crucial for everything else we'll cover today. Yeah. So before we get into the specific question types, let's establish our common reference point. I want to ensure we are all working from the same understanding of what PTE academic and PTE core actually are. Some of you are seasoned PTE teachers, while others may be newer to the format, and that's perfectly fine. Let's look at our most essential teaching tool, the score guide that's up on your screen. This should be your go-to resource for any student questions or classroom situations that arise. It's comprehensive and invaluable because it explains both what the AI engine evaluates and what human raters assess for question types. Consider it your PTE reference, your teaching reference. On your screen now you'll see PT academic first. We have, and you'll see 4 questions that appear on this table. Um, um, basically, the writing question types for PTE academic appear in part 1 and in part 3. There are 3 integrated tasks, meaning that they contribute to 2 skills. Summarized written text contributes to reading and writing, and summarized spoken text and write from dictation both contribute to writing and listening. Whereas write essay contributes to writing only. In today's session, we'll explore write essay in detail shortly. Now let's look at PTE core. We have 6 question types here where writing is assessed. Summarized written text and reading and writing fill in the blanks contribute to writing and reading. Whereas summarized spoken text, listening fill in the blanks, and write from dictation contribute to writing and listening. And write email is a single skill writing question type, and this is both write email and write essay will be our main focus for today. Yeah. Now comes the fun part. Let's see how well you know the PTE scoring system. This is a mini quiz, but don't worry, there are no wrong answers, only learning opportunities. Looking at these 4 traits on your screen, which is content, form, grammar, and vocabulary, which 2 writing question types do you think are assessed using exactly these 4 traits? Take a moment to think about it and then write the question type names, the 2, in the chat box. If you do know. Concepcion, we're looking at the names of the question types that appear in PTE, both academic and core, that have these 4 things that are assessed, and they're called traits: content, form, grammar, and vocabulary. Citra, summarize and essay. You've got one part right. Can you both have the one word in common? Biraj, summarize written text. Good. One more, one more. Any guesses? Right, don't worry. There are 2 question types that have these 4 traits that are assessed in the question types, and those are one you've already guessed, summarized written text. The other one is summarized spoken text. Both these question types appear in PTE academic as well as PTE core. Great. Now let's move on to round 2. There are 3 rounds, by the way. Yeah. Let's keep the momentum going with round two. Now we're getting more specific, right? Write essay is one of our key focus areas in today's webinar. Now, how many traits are assessed in write essay? I don't want you to just guess the number. I also want you to actually name the traits in the chat if you know. This will help us understand what we need to teach our students to master. Yeah. So I'm waiting for your responses in the chat. In write essay, what are the traits that are assessed? How many are there? Number one. And number two, what are their names? I'll give you a hint. One of the traits is called content. Biraj, you're right. Seven. And oh, Concepcion, thank you so much for putting it in the chat box. And you're right. One, two, three, four, five, six. There's one. Oh, yes, seven. And here are the traits that you have mentioned in the chat box. So in write essay, there are seven traits that are assessed. Of the seven traits, three have scoring by AI as well as a human expert, right? And these are content, development structure and coherence, and general linguistic range. The score range available is also on the slide in front of you. We'll explore this a little more when we get into I teach writing for feedback, right? The next session next month. Yeah. Right, so that was write essay. This is the final round, and we're going into write email, um, which is specific to PTE core. Can you uh, can you can you put in the chat which two traits are unique to write email? When I say unique, I mean the traits that you won't find in other PTE writing question types. Yeah. Think about what makes email different, writing emails different from a summarized written text or a summarized spoken text. Put your answer in the chat box. Two traits. I'll give you a hint. The first trait has two words in it. Right. All right, so here are the two traits. Anyway, we're going to explore this in today's session, so you'll get to know about it a little better. So these are the two traits that are unique to write email. They don't appear in any other writing question type. Yeah. In write email, we have again seven traits that are assessed, all AI scored, and the scoring range is on the screen. We will explore this a little more in detail in the subsequent slides, right? Perfect. Now we've tested our knowledge of the traits. Let's go a little deeper into what these traits actually mean in practice. Yeah. So on the screen, you will see a table. Now think of this as your diagnostic tool. It shows exactly what each trait assesses and which question types use it. So it has three columns. One is the traits are mentioned. The central column is about what it means, and on the extreme right hand side is the question types, and we've used short forms like SWT to and it stands for summarize written text, and SST would stand for summarize spoken text. So I'll briefly go through these with you. Let's walk through the key traits and see how to use this for targeted feedback with your students. So in the content trait, which measures how appropriately the response addresses the prompt. For write essay, it would mean that have all the parts of the prompt been fully addressed. And for write email, it would mean does it address the task requirements sufficiently and appropriately using correct register and tone. Some things that could be a potential problem would be if uh, learners write an essay or an email on a completely different topic, or they rely heavily on pre-memorized responses instead of addressing the specific prompt. This particular trait for write essay is scored by both AI and human experts. So that's the first one. Moving on to the second one, which is the form. This measures your adherence to formal requirements like your word count, format, task conventions. An example would be that summarized written text requires the test taker to write one single sentence between 5 to 75 words for academic, or 25 to 30 words for core, right? And in write essay, it would be between 200 to 300 words. Some common errors that we need to make our students aware of is that writing entirely in capital letters or missing punctuation, or incorrect word count, that is less or more, can reduce their scoring chances. So keep that in mind. So that means that leads me to the next trait, which is your development structure and coherence. This is unique to write essay and is scored by both AI and human experts. This measures logical flow, clear organization, and effective use of connecting devices. The next one is called email conventions. This is unique to write email. It measures appropriate format, tone, greeting, sign off, and paragraph structures for professional, semi formal, or informal emails. We have then grammar, which is the mechanical accuracy and following grammatical rules correctly, right? Using complex structures to score higher, and using them following correct grammar rules. This leads me to the next one, which is the general linguistic range, also scored by both AI and human experts for write essay. This measures precision in word choice and language flexibility. So basically, a good example of this would be something like a poor example actually would of general linguistic range would be I'll do my homework, I'll do some exercise and do dinner, which is imprecise and a repetition of the verb do. A good example would be I'll complete my homework, do some exercise, and prepare dinner, right? Um, and that leads me to the next one, which is the vocabulary part, where we are looking at sophisticated use of words choices, like instead of saying bad weather, you can say atrocious weather. So that's what we mean. So that and we come now to the final trait, which is your spelling. As It's about consistency in spelling conventions. Students must stick to one convention throughout their response. Mixing conventions will result in losing some points. So a convention could be UK spelling, US spelling, right? So these are some things that we need to keep in mind to give specific actionable feedback rather than general comments like improve your writing. Yeah. So that brings us to the end of the first objective. And now we're moving into the next part, which is looking at key structures and expressions. Now that we have a solid foundation in understanding the scoring, let's move to our second objective. This is where theory meets practice. We are going to focus on specific structures and expressions. These are the language patterns you can teach directly and students can apply immediately. Yeah. So, remember we mentioned we're looking at two question types. This is the first one, which is write essay. Let's start with this. This is a single skill writing task in PTE academic. Remember from our scoring discussion that write essay has 7 different traits, including general linguistic range. This means students need both strong foundational writing skills and and also some structure and language that we can teach them to directly address the task so that they are able to score better. Yeah. So here is a very brief outline overview of what write essay is all about. Write essay basically assesses the student's ability to write a persuasive or an argumentative essay. So let me just walk you through the key parameters your students need to know. So the prompt, which is the question, the students will see will have about 2 to 3 sentences. This is relatively short, so they don't need to read too much over here. They have about they need to write for about 2 to 300 words. This is critical for the form trait that we discussed. Going under or over will result in an effect on the scoring. And while they're doing this 200 to 300 word writing, they need to complete it in 20 minutes in total. This includes the reading the prompt, planning, writing, and reviewing. So students need to have a clear time management strategy in place. And this particular question type only appears once during the test. So it's a good thing to focus on this question type in your classes, right? So the key teaching implication would be that how can we get them to write a really good essay within 20 minutes, adhering to the word count, right? Ensuring that all parts of the prompt have been addressed. Now, talking about the prompt leads us to the next part. So, before we approach a write essay question type, we need to understand what the prompt is. So, let's look at an example of this question type. Here's a sample of a prompt. It says, some people think that city planners should knock down all buildings to create space for new houses, a new for building new houses. Do you agree or disagree with this opinion? Right. So, how many parts does this prompt have? Can you put it in the chat? Just a number. Okay, Citra. Right. It has 2 parts, but there's another part where you need to give your own opinion on it, right? Whether you agree or disagree, right? So now, why do you think it's important for our students to notice the different parts of the prompt? How will this help them? Any ideas? When we analyze a prompt and look at how many parts it has, how will this help them in the test? Any guesses? Why is it important to analyze the prompt? Uh, yes, Biraj. Yes, you're on the in the right direction. Because if we don't, we might not address every part of the prompt fully, right? And this could result in not scoring well in content, right? We need to show how to develop an argument, right? So that's important for our test takers. So here is another sample on the screen. Let's do one more. Take a moment to look at this one closely and tell me in the chat how many parts does this prompt have. This is about health and happiness. Right, Citra? It has three parts. For the first part being health, the second part being happiness, and then your own opinion on it, right? So now that we've analyzed the prompt in class, imagine that you're doing this in class. The next logical step would be to generate ideas to write in this essay, right? So a very I find this approach really effective in my classrooms, and I've tried it many times. Students often struggle to come up with ideas to write, right? So what I do is I do a debate in classroom. I divide the class into half. One's talking about health, the other one's talking about, the other half is debating about happiness, and this helps generating a whole lot of ideas. And once we have those ideas, we can then um, put them together and identify which one is the main idea and which one is this which is the which ones are the supporting details and any examples, so that we are able to develop a really nice paragraph, right? So here's an example of something that I do at the end. Once the debate is over, we have collected the points, we put this up on the slide like this in classroom, and then we get them to start writing. Now this process links directly to the scoring trait called development, structure, and coherence. Remember, a high scoring essay is logically structured and is easy to follow, clear and cohesive, with ideas developed systematically, organized into well sequenced paragraphs, and makes consistent use of connected devices to show relationship between ideas. So by turning uh, prompt analysis into a debate and idea generation, we are not just keeping learners engaged, we are also training them to come up with these ideas. Now in an exam prep classroom, every activity needs to be tied back to the test. If the learners don't see how it is connected to the test, they won't be willing to participate in such activities, and they won't see the benefit of it, right? So link everything to the test and you will have a better buy-in from your students. Yeah. So now that we have analyzed a prompt, we've looked at some activities that can help generate ideas. Now let's look at what would make a good structure, right? Essay structure. So what does a good argumentative or persuasive essay look like? On your screen, you'll see some points that are blank, and there's one point as used as an example. Number one is that it is important that the position is clearly stated in the introduction, whether they are in agreement or in disagreement with the topic, their stand is clear. Um, could you think about what are the other elements that make a good argumentative or persuasive essay, and put it in the chat, please. I'm looking at the chat to see what a fantastic group can come up with. Any ideas? Right, Biraj. Think of a broad opinion sentence and support with two reasons and illustrate one example. Right, you've covered quite a few points. Anything else? Any guesses? Thank you, Biraj. Good paragraphs. Right, right. That's Magda. All right. So, here are some points to get you going with structuring a good essay. The first would is already mentioned. Start by modeling how to write an introduction that clearly states the position. So get your students to be direct over here. The second point is the main ideas and the supporting opinion. Teach your students to outline their main and supporting ideas, and that can come from the essay debate where you've brainstormed and then you've looked at which points would be the main idea, which one would go into supporting details, right? And once we have that, then we can develop a clear topic sentence. And Biraj, you mentioned this in the chat about an opinion sentence, right? Once that is in place, then a body paragraph that elaborates on the topic sentence, right, with supporting ideas and examples. And then we move on to how do we connect those paragraphs together with discourse markers, cohesive devices like firstly, in addition, however, leading to the last paragraph where the conclusion that summarizes the main points and reiterate your position. And finally, using academic writing over here will help our test takers to be able to score better in this, right? Right. So we've looked at how to analyze a prompt, how to generate ideas, how to structure an essay. The next point would be now going into how to develop that topic sentence and a body paragraph. A good way to go about it would be to give them samples of what a topic sentence looks like and what a body paragraph looks like. So to do that, we are just going to do a quick activity. In the on your screen, you will see a prompt in the blue box. It says, given the large number of car accidents caused by humans, self-driving cars are a sensible option. Do you agree with this view? So on your left hand column, there are three topic sentences that relate to the prompt, and on the right hand are body paragraphs that elaborate on that topic sentence. Can you read the prompt and match the three topic sentences to their body paragraph? Please put in the chat responses in this format. For example, one has been done for you. One matches with C, two with whatever, and three with whatever. I've put it in the chat. Can you put this in the chat? After reading, take a minute or so to read and then match and put in the chat box. Right. I think all of you have the answers is mentioned in the chat box, and you're on track in the matching exercise. So here are the answers. Basically, now how to write a strong topic sentence shows your learners how each topic sentence clearly introduces the main idea of the paragraph. So by practicing, by matching and developing, matching this topic sentence with the paragraph, you're giving them a model that um, they can then use for their when they go into the writing process themselves, right? um, Basically, it is important to emphasize that every body paragraph should begin with a topic sentence that needs to be developed in the essay. So teach your learners to use a range of structures and language when writing topic sentence so their essay doesn't sound the same. By practicing this skill, your learners will be able to write more cohesive and well developed essays directly addressing the PTE scoring traits. Yeah. So now I mentioned something about the language that we need, and the next slide goes into the language part of it. So here are some phrases that are very that can be used to write an argumentative essay. I've put these phrases into three sections. One is called aim or purpose, the first part when you write the introduction. Then we go into agreeing, disagreeing, and then we have a concluding section. So can you add more examples for 1, 2, and 3? The first one, for example, starting off an introductory paragraph would be the main objective of having driverless cars is, or the point of having driverless cars is. Can you give me some more structures in the chat box for one? For example, I'll start you off. What comes to my mind is this essay will discuss. Anything else that you can add in the chat box to start off the introductory paragraph? Yes, thanks. This essay evaluates, Biraj. Thank you very much. Some good vocabulary used. Anything for 2, 3? Explores, evaluates. What about 2 and 3? Thanks, Concepcion. I strongly agree. There is no doubt. Fantastic language used over here. One key point to consider, Biraj. Very good. One more for the last one. 3, concluding. To conclude, in summary, ultimately, thank you. So you can use this activity with your learners to ask them to come up with their own phrases, and you can create a class resource of sentence starters. This will help them to use a variety of expressions in the exam, right? So we end with write essay. What we've done is we've looked at a prompt, we've looked at a structure, we've looked at some language around it, and we've looked at a topic sentence and a body paragraph. So now that we've finished with write essay, we move into write email, which is the second question type for this session. um, this particular question type appears in PTE core. And as teachers, it's important to remember that write email is quite different from other writing tasks, writing question types. Here, your learners need to demonstrate their ability to respond to, or give a reason to write an email, what is the purpose behind it, using correct conventions such as greetings, closing, tone. Yeah, we'll now work down what makes a high scoring email in PTE core. We'll look at the traits, including content, organization, language, and things that can help you in your classroom to learn to make your students feel more confident with right email and ensure that all parts of the prompt are addressed. Yeah. So um, let's go. So here is a broad overview of right email. Basically, right email assesses your learner's ability to produce an appropriate email, either formal or informal, based on the topic, based on the topic given. Let's walk through the key parameters your learners need to know. So the prompt length that is required for this email is about up to 100 words, 120 words. Sorry, the prompt, that is the question, the task, is about 100 words, and learners need to quickly read to identify what is the purpose, who's the audience, and what is the required tone. Then they need to write between 50 to 120 words. This is important for them to score well in the form trait. So the PTE score guide gives guidance in the test and in our preparation resources that we recommend test takers write between 80 to 120 words. This is because it's difficult to be able to give um, um, a sufficiently elaborate response by just writing 50 words. So, as teachers, we recommend that you suggest your test takers to write between 80 to 120 words for right email. They have to do this writing within 9 minutes. So, they have to read the prompt, plan, write, and review their email, right? And this particular question type appears 2 to 3 times during the test, right? So it's important that they're able to manage their time and plan, write, and review within the allocated time. So, what do we do for them to be able to structure it given the limited time of 9 minutes that they have? So, here are the elements that make for a good email. One has been given on the screen, which is the purpose for writing needs to be established at the very start of the email. What are the others? Can you put them in the chat? So one has been done as an example on the screen. Right. So degree of formality, courtesy, closure. Fantastic. Anything else, Biraj? Concepcion? Anyone else? Use a formal, semi-formal, informal tone. You're on the right track, Biraj. So here are some things to consider when writing an email for PTE core. The first part is that the purpose needs to be established at the very start. And when you are looking at that prompt, and who is the audience, and that will determine the tone and the register, whether it's going to be formal or informal. Keeping that in mind, that leads to point number 3. You'll choose an appropriate salutation for opening the email and to close the email at the end. Before closing the end, saying best regards or any of those expressions, there's one final step. They need to write a closing um, of the email, opening and closing of the email, right? So opening will have the purpose, the closing will be what is there any action, if any, required from the person that you are addressing, right? Ensure that all parts of the of the prompt are addressed, and in PTE they're called they're called themes. So addressing all three themes and then linking the points within those three themes and using good language through a variety of expressions. So this will constitute a well structured email. Now, what does an email look like, a prompt look like? This is what it looks like in PTE Core. Here's an example of it on your screen. Um, Take a moment to look closely and tell me in the chat what is the purpose for writing this email, and is it formal or informal? So, what is the purpose? Formal, you're right. The second point, what about the first one? What is the purpose? Addressing the issue, giving suggestions. Right. So the purpose of this email is for the learner as a student at a local language school to make suggestions to Mr. Harris, a member of the local council. Specifically, the learner needs to propose three ways to make language learning more popular with adults using the three themes and supporting ideas for each suggestion. Right. So this is a sample response to the prompt that we just saw. Question to you, does it address the three themes? And those three themes being language festival, using local celebrities, and evening courses. Can you read the email and see whether that has been done? Mhm. Right, it addresses all three themes, and this is a good sample. The the purpose, the suggestion, it comes up clearly in the first sentence. So it's clearly established right at the start. So this is a good sample to follow for students. Now that we've looked at a sample of a prompt and a response, the next part would be some language that our students can use to write an email, right? So here on the screen are uh, some some language structures your learners can use to effectively write emails. They are divided into three parts. The first one, A, is salutation. The second one is B, stating purpose. And the third one is your closing email. So, looking at the examples below it, can you write whether that's informal or formal? For example, dear Mr., dear Mark, which one is it? Is it formal or informal? So can you write A1? You can do it if you don't want to write the whole structure. You can write A1. Um, you could say formal, like this. Yeah. Thanks, Biraj. Uh-huh. Fantastic, Concepcion. How about stating purpose? I'm willing to. Just a quick note to B1, B2. Right. And C, closing email. Looking forward to your reply. Hope to hear from you soon. C1, C2. Right. And you're spot on with the answers. And now these are some ways that you can use to introduce some structures that will help them write a more effective email. So, for example, um, in email conventions, the way your learner opens and closes their email, dear, Mr., or hi, Sam, formal or informal, is basically using correct salutation and closing for. Which is essential for scoring well in this trait. And when they use things like I'm writing to, just a quick note, basically it helps ensure that the email addresses the requirements of the task. The purpose has been stated clearly. When they use these kind of structures, it makes it more, it's more organized, it flows better, and they have good structures here. I'm writing to, just a quick note, good vocabulary, grammar use. They'll be able to score in quite a few traits of and in also form, because they'll be able to write within the word count. And once you introduce them to these structures, and there'll be less number of spelling errors, that will help them score better in spelling too, right? So we have come to the end of the second part, the practical part. We've looked at write essay, we've looked at write email, we've looked at what a write essay looks like, or a write email looks like. Then we've looked at what a structure is. Then we've looked at some language that will help them score better in this. So and some activities that you can do in your classrooms to get your students to perform better in this question type. So, keeping all this in mind, what would be your key takeaways for this session? Right? I have a few. I'd like to hear from you too. So, what do you think you have learned or taken away? Something that you may not have known earlier, or something that you would like to explore, you find it interesting, or you want to go deeper into? Can you put it in the chat, please? Right. So Biraj likes the classroom activity. Concepcion, what about you? Oh, yes, vocabulary game as well. Good. Right. Yes, you're quite right with that. Being logical helps them structure the essay better. Yeah. Good point that you raised. For me, these would be the key takeaways from today's session. The first one being that if we use the trait scoring with the help of the score guide, we can help our students target their specific writing weaknesses. So if there's a weakness in spelling or in content or in form, we can give them very concrete feedback, right? Um, Introducing writing a topic sentence and expanding on it with supporting ideas will help them structure their essay better. And teaching formal and informal language patterns explicitly in your classrooms will help them do well in write email. With this, we come to the final part of today's session before we open for Q&A. Here are some ways that you um, can use the resources that Pearson PTE has to offer. So the first step would be, if you're new, to be familiar with the test and whatever is there on our website. To do that, please scan the QR code at the top right hand corner, which will take you to our website, where you will have sorry that's in the next slide. So basically we need to be familiar. Once we're familiar, we start preparing with the resources available, and then the next logical step is to teach. So to be familiar, we go to our website, which you can where you can go by scanning the QR code in the top right hand corner. Here you will find test tips for all question types. For writing, common mistakes to avoid. We'll have a video course. We have video courses focused on writing. Then there are essential test tips across all writing question types. Actually, not just writing, all question types. There's also a guided practice test where you do a question type, then you look at the sample answer. It's a good role model to follow for other tasks, right? So here are some resources for you to be familiar with. The next step would be you start preparing to teach, right? So again, the best place for you to go to is the PTE for Teachers website. You can get there by scanning on the QR code on the screen. And we recently enhanced PTE Academic. So our brand new resources are available for you to buy if you want to. I've used it and I find it really useful. Some of the activities that we did today have been taken from these resources. Go and explore PT Academic Expert B1, B2 level, depending on the CEFR level of your students. The PT Academic Official Guide and Question Bank has a lot, over 300 odd questions with activities that you can do in your classrooms. These brainstorming ones, debating, all these are there. We have lesson ideas that you can utilize, and we have also an offline test. Yeah. Um, and last but not the least, right. So teach using these resources, and let us know how it goes for you in the next session. We want to know whether you've been able to access it, right? So with this, I'm going to hand over to Magda for the next steps. Magda, over to you.
Thank you. Great, Shanali. Can you hear and see me okay?
Yeah.
Wonderful. Great. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Shanali. Very comprehensive session and a really important deep dive into two key writing question types today across both of our tests. We did have a couple of questions in the Q&A, so thank you very much for those who participated. I have actually answered all of them, Shanali. So I'm just going to use the next few minutes to kind of wrap up. But just for your reference, the questions were around human scoring. We have an extra quality assurance layer that was introduced quite recently. So please do check the Q&A. I've provided quite a lengthy response, but again, the PT Academic Scorecard talks to the traits and the question types that have an extra layer of human scoring. But please do remember that all of our question types continue to be AI scored. And there was actually a great question from Biraj about some high-level language use in writing, namely hedging, concessionals, rebuttals, and kind of strong sentence endings or conclusions. So yeah, thank you very much, all of you who asked those questions. If you ask questions, other people can learn from the answers as well. So that's it from me on the Q&A side. Thank you, Shanali. So now all I just want to let you know is what happens next. We're in the next 24 hours, so not immediately. You will get an invitation to fill in a quick survey from Zoom. So please do that, because we are looking always to improve as trainers, and your suggestions, recommendations, feedback are really important to us. And then the other thing is that on completion of that survey, you will receive a link to download your certificate from today, and it will look a little bit like the image that you see on the left. So Shonali's name with the title of the webinar you attended. And then the next thing to do is simply to sign up for the next webinar. And good news, folks, Shonali is going to be delivering that too. So essentially, this was part one, an introduction to the writing question types with a deep dive on a couple. And we're going to look at giving feedback and scoring on those writing tasks in a month's time. So again, go to our website to sign up for that. So that's it from us. Final reflections, Concepcion, a wow. I don't know what that refers to. I hope it's because it's a wow for Shonali that she's delivering a part two. Thank you, Biraj. We really value your participation and your engagement as always. And to everyone else, have a wonderful afternoon, evening, wherever you are. Thank you for all the work that you're doing to engage your students and to advocate for PTE. And we'll see you next month. Thanks, Shonali.
Bye. Thank
Bye bye.
you.